The palace doesn't announce earthquakes, especially the ones it triggers itself. But tonight, behind locked doors and hushed corridors, senior royals do the unthinkable. They vote to end Camilla's queen title. Not because of public pressure, but because of something Charles allegedly warned them about, something so volatile it could fracture the monarchy from the inside out. And once the vote is cast, there's no undo button, only fallout. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. It starts the way the most dangerous royal stories always start: quietly. No grand announcement, no public itinerary, just an unusual ripple through the palace network, the kind staff feel before anyone speaks it aloud. A gathering called at an hour that doesn't belong to tradition. Corridors suddenly guarded by faces that don't explain themselves. And a rule delivered with surgical coldness. No aides. No private secretaries. No comforting buffers. Only senior royals. Only the inner circle. Only the people whose names have weight and whose silences have consequences. Even the air feels instructed to behave, as if the walls themselves have been warned not to listen too closely. Inside that room, the vote is described with careful language, the kind the monarchy uses to keep bloodstains from showing. A constitutional safeguard, they call it. A clarification. A necessary correction. But those words don't survive the reality of what's happening, because everyone there understands the emotional translation. This is not procedure. This is betrayal in formal clothing. This is a title being put on trial by the very people who once stood, smiling, while it was normalized before the world. And the most chilling part isn't the vote itself, it's how quickly the room divides. How naturally old loyalties fracture under new fear. How effortlessly they slip into factions like they've been rehearsing for years. There are the loyalists, clinging to the idea that the crown must never look uncertain, that Camilla's title is now welded into the story of the reign and cannot be peeled away without ripping the whole narrative open. There are the traditionalists, sharper and colder, who see titles as sacred machinery. If one gear is wrong, the entire machine grinds itself to death. And then there are the survivalists, the ones who don't speak in honor or love or precedent, but in containment. They don't argue about what's fair. They argue about what will explode, and how far the blast might reach. Their eyes don't look at Camilla with hatred. They look at her like a live wire someone left exposed. Charles, in this telling, isn't just a king presiding over a family argument. He becomes the storm at the center of the room, controlled but charged. He doesn't reveal everything. He can't. Not yet. But he teases enough to change the temperature. A warning, delivered not as theater, but as something heavier, a chain reaction. One consequence leading to another, each one worse, each one harder to stop, until the monarchy isn't managing a crisis anymore, it's enduring a collapse. And the most haunting detail is that he doesn't speak like someone protecting Camilla's pride. He speaks like someone protecting the crown's skeleton, the structure no one wants the public to examine too closely. That's when Camilla's name stops being just a person and becomes a symbol. Her queen title becomes the battlefield where legitimacy, legacy, and public trust all collide. Because if the family can revoke it, then the public starts asking what else can be rewritten. If the family can vote it away, then what did it ever truly mean? The room feels the danger of that thought like a knife pressed gently against skin, no blood yet. But the message is clear. This isn't about one woman's status. This is about whether the monarchy can still convince the world that its decisions are steady, righteous, inevitable, or whether they are simply made by frightened people behind locked doors. And then comes the moment that changes everything, not loud, not dramatic, not even spoken. Paper slides across the table. Names are expected. Agreement is expected. Unity, at least on the surface, is expected. But one senior royal refuses to sign. Not with a speech, not with a rebellion, with a pause. A long, deliberate pause that turns into a silent veto of loyalty. That refusal doesn't just imply dissent, it exposes a split in the inner circle. The kind of split that can't be patched with smiles. Because if one refuses, it means the vote didn't produce unity. It produced winners and losers. And in a family built on hierarchy, losers don't simply accept their fate. They retaliate. The vote passes anyway. That's the dagger twist, because in royal crises, passing a vote is never the end. It's the beginning of the aftermath. The room attempts composure, but composure is just fear wearing a mask. They speak in careful phrases, reminding each other of confidentiality, of discipline, of the monarchy's sacred need for control. But control is already slipping through their fingers. Because within minutes, someone leaks the existence of the meeting. Not the full story, not the details, just enough to ignite speculation like gasoline. And as the palace scrambles to seal the cracks, one question spreads faster than the leak itself. What exactly did Charles warn them about that made the royal family turn on its own? They say the king doesn't beg. He persuades, he commands, he outlasts. But inside that room, Charles allegedly delivered a warning that didn't sound like authority, it sounded like fear. A fear with teeth. He didn't threaten the family's image. He warned them about collapse, about a truth that, once exposed, could force the crown to choose between Camilla's title and the monarchy's survival. The leak outside the gates was only the first tremor. Inside, the real shockwave came from Charles himself, because he didn't enter the debate like a man confident in his crown. He entered like a man trying to stop a fire from reaching a locked room no one is supposed to know exists. His voice, in this dramatized account, stays controlled, almost careful, as if he's measuring every syllable for consequences. Yet the edges of him give it away. Not panic, something worse. A disciplined fear, the kind that doesn't flail, because it's already calculated what disaster looks like and has decided it's unacceptable. And when the room tries to frame the vote as procedure, he refuses the comfort of that illusion. He treats it like the final minutes before a catastrophic decision. He calls it a last resort without saying the words. You can feel it in the way he stops, then continues, as though each pause is him deciding how much truth the family can survive. He doesn't shout. He doesn't dramatize. That's what makes it land. He frames Camilla's title as a trigger, an accidental-looking spark that could set off something far bigger than public outrage. In his telling, the title is the fuse, not the bomb. The bomb is what the fuse leads to. And the moment he says that, the room changes. Because everyone understands the difference between scandal and structural collapse. Scandal is survived. Collapse is inherited. Then he lays out the shape of the threat, not fully, never fully, but enough to poison the air with dread. 3 detonators, he suggests, like a triangle closing in. First, a document, something written, something official enough to carry weight, something that doesn't care about emotion or loyalty because ink doesn't tremble. Second, a testimony, a person who knows too much, who has kept quiet too long, who might finally decide that silence isn't worth the price anymore. And third, a private record, the kind of thing that proves patterns, timelines, and intent, proof not of one bad moment, but of a system that cannot pretend it didn't know. He doesn't name them, but he doesn't have to. The implication is the weapon, and that's when he repeats the phrase that turns the room cold: destroy us all. Not once, not as a flourish. Again and again, like a warning carved into stone. Destroy us all. Not humiliate us, not embarrass us, not damage the brand. Destroy us all. The words don't sound like melodrama in this moment. They sound like prophecy. Like he's seen a path forward that ends with the monarchy questioned in ways it can't spin its way out of. It becomes bigger than Camilla, bigger than him, bigger than any single reign. It becomes existential. A senior royal tries to puncture the fear with bravado, "We've survived worse." The kind of line people say when they need to believe the institution is invincible. But Charles's response is immediate, low and chilling, "Not this." Two words that feel like a door locking from the inside. Because worse implies pain. This implies consequence. In that exchange, the family begins to realize what Charles is truly pointing at. Not gossip, not outrage, but legitimacy, public and legal. The kind of legitimacy that, once questioned, doesn't bounce back with a better photo op. The kind that invites scrutiny into the bones of the system, into the rules they rely on, into decisions that were meant to stay behind the curtain. And then, just as some of them try to retreat into strategy, how to manage headlines, how to calm the public, how to hold the line, Charles drops the most dangerous hint of all. He implies that this isn't a threat from the outside. It's personal. Direct, connected to someone in that very room. Not metaphorically connected, entangled. The kind of entanglement that turns allies into liabilities and family into suspects. No one breathes properly after that. Because once a warning lands like a confession, the next step isn't damage control, it's a hunt. For the hidden evidence Charles is terrified will surface. Once the vote passes, the palace becomes a pressure cooker. Not because of reporters outside the gates, because of enemies inside them. Suddenly, staff are questioned, schedules are rewritten, and private offices are secured with suspicious urgency. The royals aren't just reacting anymore, they're searching. Someone has something. And the longer it stays hidden, the more dangerous it becomes, especially if the wrong hands find it first. The strangest part is how quickly normal disappears. Phones don't just go quiet, they become forbidden objects, collected with polite smiles that feel like threats. Meetings are shifted with no explanation, as if time itself is being rearranged to corner someone. Familiar staff vanish from their usual posts, replaced by faces that don't speak unless spoken to, and even then, only in clipped fragments. It's discreet, yes, but it's ruthless. The palace isn't trying to calm the storm anymore. It's trying to find the lightning bolt before it hits. Two factions bloom inside the same walls, invisible to the public, but unmistakable to anyone living inside the machine. The first calls itself containment, people who insist the monarchy can survive anything, as long as the truth stays manageable, packaged, and controlled. The second is exposure, people who claim the only way to save the crown is to stop lying before the lies become fatal. Both sides swear they're protecting the institution, but their eyes betray them. One side is protecting power, the other side is protecting themselves. And somewhere between the two, the royals stop being family and become players in a silent war where every kindness might be a trap. That's when the rumor spreads like poison, a sealed file. Not a metaphor, not a vague source. A file with edges, weight, and a history, something everyone has heard about but no one admits exists. It becomes the palace's forbidden heartbeat, the thing that turns conversations sharp and makes people glance at doors before they speak. Some whisper it's locked away under protocol. Others whisper it was never locked away at all, only moved, handed, hidden, and reshuffled like contraband. And the more the story breathes, the more terrifying it becomes, because it suggests the truth isn't outside hunting the monarchy, it's already inside, waiting for the right hand to pull it into the light. Camilla's allies don't waste time mourning, they go straight to strategy. Quiet calls, quiet meetings, quiet questions disguised as concern. Who leaked the meeting? Who benefits from humiliating her? Who wants the public to think she's been dethroned before the palace even speaks? Meanwhile, her opponents smell blood in the water and start swimming faster. They push for speed, for escalation, for a clean break that looks like decisiveness rather than panic. They talk about optics, but what they really want is momentum. Because momentum doesn't ask permission, it simply crushes whatever stands in its way. In the middle of this, a trusted advisor is positioned like a gatekeeper, someone meant to manage access, control information, and keep the king insulated from chaos. For a brief moment, it looks like the palace has found its anchor, and then, without warning, that advisor is sidelined, nudged out, stripped of proximity. No explanation, no ceremony, just absence. It reeks of sabotage. It suggests someone powerful doesn't want stability. Someone wants confusion, because confusion creates openings, and openings are where secrets fall out. The emotional undercurrent is the ugliest truth of all. The family no longer trusts itself. Every loyalty becomes transactional. Every smile carries a price tag. Every conversation has a hidden audience, real or imagined. And in that cold atmosphere, the story of Camilla's rise begins to transform from public resilience into private negotiation. Because in this dramatized account, her queen title wasn't simply granted, it was engineered, like a settlement after a war. A deal designed to stabilize Charles's reign, paid for in hidden compromises that were never meant to be examined by daylight. The senior royals aren't panicking because they hate her. They're panicking because the public never agreed to the real terms, and consent, once questioned, doesn't stay contained. Camilla, in this version of events, isn't a cartoon villain. She's a survivor shaped by strategy, a woman who learned that in royal life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you can negotiate. But negotiation leaves scars. Legitimacy comes with strings, and strings become resentments. The hypocrisy of the institution hangs over everything. The same people who once benefited from the deal now act scandalized by it, as if they didn't quietly depend on her role to keep the monarchy standing. Her title becomes a mask polished on the outside, brittle underneath, reflecting grace while hiding fractures. And then, just as the palace tightens its grip and everyone believes they can still control the narrative, a coded message slips through the cracks and reaches an unknown recipient, short, precise, unmistakably deliberate, hinting the evidence is already moving. Not destroyed, not sealed, moving. And as the palace tightens its grip, the real danger isn't the secret itself, it's the person brave enough to reveal where Camilla's power truly began. Because once a title is tied to a bargain, the next question isn't who deserves it, it's who gets destroyed when it's revoked. The vote wasn't a decision, it was a revolt. In this story, senior royals reach a moment where protecting Camilla stops feeling like duty and starts feeling like self-destruction. But what pushes them over the edge isn't the public, or the press, or tradition. It's something closer. Something personal. A line crossed in private, a threat implied, and a realization that the crown can't survive if the family keeps pretending everything is fine. It's dressed up as institution first, as if saying those words can bleach the emotion out of what they're doing. But the truth is uglier. Old wounds finally get permission to speak. Fresh fear makes them louder. And in the center of it all sits a brutal understanding. This isn't about etiquette. It's about containment. One senior royal, calm, precise and merciless, delivers the emotional thesis that snaps the room into silence. We're not saving the crown, we're delaying the crash. That line lands like a verdict, because everyone knows what it implies. The crash is coming. They're just arguing about who gets trapped under it. The debate turns vicious, the way family fights always do when the stakes are high enough to strip away manners. Some accuse Camilla of consolidating influence quietly, steadily, like ivy climbing a wall until the wall can't breathe. They claim she's become more than a consort, more than a symbol, more than a wife, and that her reach now touches rooms she was never meant to enter. Others point the finger where it hurts most, Charles. They don't call him weak, not directly, but the accusation hangs there anyway. He enabled it. He normalized it. He dared the family to swallow what they never truly accepted. And then comes the moment of raw betrayal, the moment that stops being politics and becomes personal. We warned you. Not we advised you. Not we suggested. We warned you, words that imply prior confrontations, private showdowns, promises made in whispers and broken in daylight. Charles is trapped in the most humiliating place a monarch can be trapped. between loyalty and survival. Defending Camilla isolates him, makes him look like a man choosing his wife over the crown. Abandoning her makes him look weak, disloyal, and manipulable, like a king who can be forced by committee. Either choice stains him. Either choice changes the story of his reign. And that's why the revolt isn't truly about punishment. It's about severing Camilla's symbolic power before a larger scandal uses her title as a doorway and storms the whole house. They aren't trying to win an argument, they're trying to shrink the blast radius. Then the revolt crosses its most dangerous line. Someone hints they'll go public if the palace doesn't act. No more waiting, no more quiet diplomacy, no more protecting appearances. A ticking clock suddenly exists, and clocks inside palaces are terrifying because they don't just measure time, they measure panic. That threat changes the room. It turns strategy into urgency, and urgency into cruelty. And once the decision is made, the consequences begin instantly, because revolts don't end with votes, they end with consequences. And the first consequence is Camilla finding out who stabbed her in the dark. In this dramatized tale, she doesn't crumble when the vote turns against her, she recalculates. Because she's survived exile, ridicule, and decades of waiting, she understands the monarchy's greatest weakness isn't scandal, it's silence. It runs on silence the way engines run on fuel. And if they strip her queen title, they're not just humiliating her, they're breaking the bargain that kept her quiet. Her reaction is controlled devastation. A stillness so tight it almost feels like grace, until you realize it's something else entirely, hurt hardening into purpose. She doesn't see enemies as faceless senior royals. She sees names, motives, histories, people who smiled at her while sharpening knives behind their backs. And the palace misjudges her, thinking she'll accept a graceful retreat, thinking shame will make her obedient. But Camilla prepares counter-pressure. A private channel opens. Messages move through intermediaries who have always existed in the shadows. Old alliances resurface, not out of love, but out of shared self-interest. And she doesn't threaten the crown directly, she threatens the one thing it cannot live without: the narrative. You can't rewrite history without me. Charles's position fractures even further. He's pulled between protector and prisoner of the institution, between the instinct to shield her and the reality that shielding her might burn him alive. And then Camilla drops the most chilling suggestion of all. She has her own file, her own proof, her own leverage. Not a desperate bluff, but something heavier. Something that implicates more than her, more than Charles, more than the vote itself. And just when the royals think they've contained the crisis, a new problem erupts because the leak becomes a flood. And the public begins to choose sides. The palace can survive scandal. What it can't survive is uncertainty. In this fictionalized crisis, the vote leaks in fragments, half-truths that spark full-scale outrage. One headline calls Camilla dethroned, another calls her victim. And as the story mutates online, the monarchy loses control of the only thing it truly owns: the narrative. Because once the public senses weakness, it doesn't ask politely for answers, it demands blood. It doesn't arrive like one clean revelation. It arrives like weather rolling in, changing shape, spreading faster than anyone can measure. First come the whispers, the kind that slip into group chats and comment sections with that familiar poison. Something happened. Something big. Then the whispers grow teeth, upgraded into sources, into unnamed insiders who claim they heard the doors close. They saw the faces. They felt the panic. And then comes the most dangerous stage of all confident claims that contradict each other, yet somehow feel believable because they match the emotional appetite of the moment. The public isn't reading for truth anymore. It's reading for impact. Polarization hits like a hammer. Camilla's supporters frame her as a scapegoat, a convenient sacrifice offered up so the institution can pretend it's purifying itself. They argue she's paying for sins the monarchy quietly tolerated for years, and they say the vote proves one thing: the palace always protects itself first. Her opponents tell a different story, one of overreach, of power accumulated behind smiles, of influence that spread until it finally terrified the people who once allowed it. They don't see a woman being punished, they see a force being contained. Two narratives, both emotionally charged, both feeding outrage, both pulling the public into a choice that feels personal. And Charles becomes the blank screen everyone projects onto. His silence is weaponized from every angle. To one side, it's guilt. To another, it's cowardice. To the most cynical voices, it's strategy cold, calculated and ruthless. Every hour he doesn't speak becomes its own headline. Every absence becomes proof. Meanwhile, the anonymous insiders keep pouring gasoline on the fire, and the sheer volume of them suggests something worse than a single leak. It suggests multiple leak sources, competing agendas, internal sabotage so deep it can't be explained away as one disloyal staffer. It feels like a palace civil war playing out through the public's hunger for drama. The institution reacts the way institutions always do when they're scared, clumsily. Denials that sound rehearsed, statements that feel cold, carefully chosen words that don't land as reassurance, they land as evasion. And the family's private fractures spill into public perception like ink in water. The old illusion of unity becomes impossible to fake, because even a staged smile looks brittle when people suspect the person behind it is furious. The monarchy doesn't just lose control of the story, it loses control of the mood. And once the mood turns, it doesn't need facts, it needs a villain. That's when the palace does what it has always done when cornered: it manufactures inevitability. Behind the scenes, an emergency reset plan begins to form so drastic, it feels like rewriting history in real time. Advisors speak in clipped urgency about new titles, new rules, new lines, anything that restores the sensation of control. The plan isn't simply fix the problem, it's freeze the chaos. Ceremonial and constitutional maneuvers get floated like weapons, symbolic changes with real consequences, calculated to show decisiveness without admitting weakness. Some argue for a controlled downgrade, not because it's merciful, but because it avoids a public execution of Camilla's image. Others push a parallel illusion, remove her title and announce a family unity initiative, a bright banner meant to distract from the smoke. But every solution has a price, and the deeper they go, the more obvious it becomes this isn't about Camilla anymore. It's about containing Charles. He's pressured to sign off, to become the face of a decision that wounds him privately, because the institution needs a human shield. And Charles, watching the machine move without him, begins to understand a brutal truth: the monarchy will survive even if it breaks him to do it. Then the doom spiral tightens. A televised special report is teased, promising a document to be shown within 24 hours, and suddenly the reset plan feels less like strategy and more like panic. A last-minute message arrives inside the palace, short, urgent, unmistakably real warning that someone is about to release the hidden evidence first. And with the countdown ticking, the palace faces the cruelest choice of all: sacrifice Camilla publicly, or risk exposing the secret Charles tried to bury. Because the final act doesn't belong to the palace, it belongs to the person holding the match and the truth they're ready to ignite. In the end, the palace learns the oldest lesson the crown never admits out loud: you can't control secrets forever, you can only choose how they explode. In this fictional documentary climax, the hidden truth behind Charles's warning finally surfaces, and it reframes everything. The vote, the revolt, Camilla's rise, and the monarchy's desperation. Because the Queen title wasn't the scandal, it was the distraction from what the crown feared most: accountability. At first, the reveal doesn't land like a single bombshell. It lands like a door opening into a hallway of locked rooms, each one leading to the next. It's layered, interconnected compromises stitched together over years. quiet coercions disguised as tradition. Agreements that were never meant to be spoken aloud because the moment you name them, you admit they exist. And once you admit they exist, the monarchy stops being a symbol and starts looking like a machine. Not a sacred one, a human one. Flawed, fearful, and capable of doing almost anything to preserve itself. That's when Charles's warning finally makes sense in a new and brutal way. He wasn't only protecting Camilla, he was protecting the monarchy's foundation, the parts that cannot survive daylight. The vote to end her queen title wasn't the solution. It was the emergency brake. A desperate attempt to stop a chain reaction that would force the public to ask the one question the crown dreads more than scandal: who decided all of this, and why were we never allowed to question it? Suddenly the warning "destroy us all" stops sounding dramatic and starts sounding accurate. Because the truth isn't just about a person. It's about precedent, consent, and the illusion that power is always earned rather than engineered. Camilla's role, in this dramatized telling, becomes tragic and sharp at the same time. She is neither saint nor simple villain. She's a participant in the system, yes, but also a pawn of it, shaped by the rules long before she ever benefited from them. Her title becomes proof of how the monarchy manufactures legitimacy, polishing the surface until the cracks feel like they were never there. And now, when the senior royals try to strip that title away, it's not a moral act. It's a survival act. The mask is being removed not because they've found purity, but because the mask has started to suffocate them. The senior royals' motives, once hidden behind ceremonial language, begin to look painfully human. Fear, principle, ambition, self-preservation, sometimes all in the same person, in the same sentence. One figure argues it's about duty, but their hands shake when they speak. Another claims it's about tradition, but their eyes look hungry for control. Someone insists they're saving the institution, yet the details reveal they're also protecting themselves from what happens if the public learns who signed what, who approved what, who stayed silent while the deal was made. This is the cruel truth of power. People can believe they are righteous while still acting out of panic. And then comes the final judge, the public. Not a courtroom, not a council, not a royal vote, but a nation of voices watching the story mutate in real time. Outrage becomes unpredictable. Sympathy becomes conditional. Trust, once fractured, becomes almost impossible to rebuild. Some viewers see Camilla as the scapegoat, sacrificed to keep the crown standing. Others see her as the symbol of a system that demanded silence and rewarded endurance. Many see something worse, a monarchy that only tells the truth when it has no other choice. And in that chaos, everyone realizes the terrifying part: there is no version of this ending that leaves the institution untouched. The emotional closing beat belongs to Charles, not as a king, but as a man standing in the ruins of what he thought control would bring him. Because power, in this story, doesn't look glamorous at the end. It looks lonely. It looks like waking up and realizing you can save the crown but lose the people you needed most. Love becomes collateral. Loyalty becomes a transaction. Peace becomes a myth. And when the title finally shifts, when the palace chooses its official resolution, it doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival at a cost no one will ever admit publicly. And yet the final sting still hangs in the air. Sharper than any headline, even after the title changes, a new question remains: who benefits from the chaos now? Because once the palace bleeds, someone always steps forward to claim they were the one who stopped it. Someone always uses the moment to climb. Someone always rewrites the story. And just when you think the story ends with a stripped title, it becomes clear the real battle is only beginning, because the crown never forgets who forced it to bleed. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.